You are now listening to WSN Wolf Sports Network, live from the University of West Georgia in Carrollton, now an Odyssey station.
Live from Carrollton, Georgia, this is Sports Pack.
Home of the hottest takes and the best interviews in college radio.
Hold on, wait a minute. We need a little more energy. This is Sports Pack. Yeah, there we go.
Home of the hottest takes and debates.
There is no way I'm going to sit here and roll with Jared Stidham and Aiden O'Connell.
Richard.
There's just no way.
And the best interviews in college radio.
This is five-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor.
This is Super Bowl champion quarterback Brad Johnson, and you're listening to Sports Pack on the Wolf Sports Network.
You know what time it is. Wolf's Country.
Let's ride.
Fantastic news. The Wolves Deli Station is returning to West Commons. Build your sandwich to your liking as you choose from several bread, meat, and cheese options. More information is located at dine_west on Instagram. Welcome. Started off with an ad read this time. Look, doesn't matter. Welcome into another episode of Sports Pack. I'm your host, Richard Reed, joined as always by Carlie Pear, Jackson Schrader, John Howley, and you do see a new face over there. You're not tripping. We got my guy JT over here shadowing the board. He's running through the WHIP program right now, which is our training program for people wanting to get involved with the radio station. So JT will be shadowing us tonight, and stay tuned because Thursday night he's going to be on for a segment or two. But you know we got to start off with some West Georgia sports.
Long as Widener rolls to the right, he's got some time. Everybody's down at the end zone. He heaves it, and it is caught for a touchdown.
We are one. Go Wolves.
Now look, for some reason you were sitting there like, dang, Richard seems a little off in the intro. I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's wrong. You know what? You're not wrong, man. There is something wrong. My problem is with this West Georgia Wolves football team.
Yep.
I feel like, I don't know if y'all feel the same way. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. We'll find out in a second. But man, I just feel like I got led on.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was just sold a dream. Now look, it is year one of this Joel Taylor era here at West Georgia football. But oh my gosh, week one was such a high, beating Samford 38-29, fireworks show afterwards. Then the next weekend, Abilene Christian, first road game in Abilene, Texas, tough game. Wolves lost 38-24. But in watching that game, we all said the same thing. If they can get these few mistakes fixed, iron out these few things, we can get back on it. We can hit our stride again, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So this coming weekend, we have a 0-2 Eastern Kentucky. It's still another road game out there in Richmond, Kentucky. We're like, man, this team is very talented. Just can't make the same mistakes again, right? Mm-hmm. Well, what happens in Eastern Kentucky, Schrader?
We made the same mistakes
The
again.
same freaking mistakes. This is the second week in a row. Team looked sloppy, didn't look ready to go. Never really seemed like they were confident that they could win that game. Had an incredible catch from Carmelo English at one point.
It was wild.
Amazing one-handed catch. I thought it should have been SportsCenter top 10. But I get why it wasn't SportsCenter top 10 because the rest of the team just didn't show up. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say right now. I'm disappointed. I'm a little upset. Not even a little upset. I'm quite upset. I'm disappointed. Schrader, I'm going to throw it to you first, man. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. This game was just rough. There was no time that we really looked good. We never had the lead, and we just got beat down by realistically a not very good football team.
Yep.
I thought Davin was not playing, but apparently Davin was playing.
Yeah. I guess so.
If that's what you want to call it. I mean, he played a very
mediocre.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
That's definitely the best way to put it.
Completed about 50% of his passes for less than 200 yards, no touchdown, no picks. We ran the ball a lot with not much success. It was just meh. That's the best way you can describe how we played.
I felt disappointed by the team. I love the team. I mean, obviously, we still go back to week one, but we shot ourselves in the foot a lot throughout the whole game, and we're a better team than them from what I saw. We're a much better team, but obviously all these mistakes kept happening, and like you were saying, we thought we could have fixed them, but obviously they're not, and then you choose Davin to start, which really confused me. But I'm disappointed with this team right now. I really hope this bye week really helps them get back centered. But, for what they brought in the beginning with Coach Taylor saying, that whole quote right there, I'm not happy with this team and just, no thank you.
This bye week is perfectly timed. I mean, it shows it needed to happen because just having 1 week between the Abilene Christian game and the Eastern Kentucky game obviously was not enough time. This team has a lot of stuff to get worked out. We need this coaching staff to really lock in because this team is super talented. Yeah. And this season is still salvageable. I mean, it's only we're going into week 4 now, but only 3 games have been played. I mean, this season is still salvageable. This can still be a great year 1. We're just starting to run into those year 1 hurdles.
Yep.
A lot of big time players portaled into this team, all new coaching staff. Yeah, week 1 they hit a home run, beat Samford. But I feel like we're really starting to see what we see from most schools when they get into their first year with the head coach. It's not supposed to be easy. Every year can't be like Sonny Dykes with TCU, where they go just about undefeated and make it to the national championship. Every year can't be like that, and most years under a first-year head coach aren't like that.
Yep.
Maybe they didn't sell us a dream. Maybe we adjusted our expectations after week 1. Because that's what it seems like. Because early on, I mean, we all picked Samford to beat West Georgia.
We sure did.
None of us expected this team to be good, but after we saw this team's potential, we adjusted our expectations. So maybe it's our fault. You know what? Put the blame on me.
Yeah.
It's my fault. We hyped it up too much here on Sports Back. We hyped this football team up too much. Let's just still expect a little improvement.
I sure hope so.
And now let's go to volleyball. Another rough weekend. Look, it was just a rough weekend for West Georgia sports as a whole. Blame it on the rain, blame it on what you want.
It was the hurricane.
It had to be the hurricane. It had to be. Because West Georgia Wolves went on the road to the Golden Eagle Invitational out there in Cookeville, Tennessee, where they took on Radford University, Tennessee Tech University, and Nichols. Came with only 1 win. Lost the games to Radford University and Tennessee Tech 3-0. Beat Nichols 3-1, which was an improvement on the last day of the tournament.
Yeah.
But it was a rough weekend for West Georgia Wolves, football and volleyball, just West Georgia athletics as a whole. John, you've covered this volleyball team a lot. You know what this team can do. This team is very impressive. Majority of the games are very competitive, but those first 2, it just seems like they didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I was a little shocked by seeing that we basically got wiped in the first 2 because, like you're saying, I know that I've seen this team play, and they are a very strong team, and just to not do anything against those 2 teams. I understand these other teams are established. They're very good. But I feel like we should have won at least a couple of those sets, you'd think at least. And then, I mean, look, we went against Nichols. I'll take that. We end the last game with a positive right there. Take the momentum at least. We're 6-4 if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6-4. So we'll at least take that and move on with it.
Yeah, I think winning that game against Nichols is big because you went into that tournament. You didn't perform as well as you wanted to, but you at least left with something on a positive note. It's pretty big.
And on the brighter side, our women's basketball team released their schedule for the 2024-2025 season, and we got some good games in store for us.
Is it the brighter side? That schedule is a booger.
Yeah, we got Georgia Tech in November at Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt in December. So
that's pretty
those
cool.
are the 2 big ones. Of course, got our ASUN friends, but
was that really the bright side?
I mean,
after what we witnessed last season, I mean, I've heard a lot of talk that this team should be improved, but good Lord, it's gonna be a heck of a year for UWG athletics. But I'll be cheering the entire way. Baby, it's college football time. Give me my theme music. Now look, let's pivot. We talked about West Georgia sports. As you can tell in my voice, I was a little disappointed, but I'm feeling a little bit better now. Should I be?
No.
I'm in here wearing Kentucky blue on accident. I really should take this shirt off and burn it. It was a rough weekend in college football for me, too. As all of you know, I try to stay impartial, but I'm a Georgia fan. I don't exist without the University of Georgia. My parents met there. Look, I'll take this mic, I'll take these headphones off right now and get to barking. This is what I do. So you know what? To give myself some more time, I'm not going to start off talking about Georgia versus Kentucky. I want to talk about this LSU and South Carolina game, because boy, was it incredible.
Oh, that was a good game.
College game day, went out there to Columbia, and look, I picked LSU to win this game. I looked pretty smart doing it in hindsight.
Same here.
But, man, October might have come early. Lenora Sellers for South Carolina is the real deal. Now, he made a few mistakes in that game, but before he got hurt, it was looking like they were going to run LSU out of the building. Schrader, you picked South Carolina to win this game. How do you feel afterwards?
Honestly, I don't feel that bad for South Carolina. Like, to go through the rest of this season, I mean, they played great. Yeah, they did kind of blow it at the end, but they played a very good game against a very solid LSU team. And you got to give props to LSU because they really never gave up. I watched this game, and these teams, they were trading blows. They were taking right hooks to the chins constantly, and they just kept firing back. And really, it was just South Carolina didn't hit that field goal at the end. And when I tell you that was just about the closest you can come to missing a field goal, that was the closest you can come to missing a field goal. I thought it was in the whole way until it wasn't.
So what a hook on that field goal.
Dude, it was wild.
It hooked right at the end.
Yeah. But, yeah, South Carolina played a great game. I mean, yeah, I feel good for them.
Yeah, I also picked South Carolina going into this weekend. And honestly, injuries really make or break the rest of a game. And it's really unfortunate. But, yes, this LSU team was strong. And after that injury, they really took advantage of that and made their way back. Part of me is they got lucky with that field goal, but also I know that this is, like Schrader said, this is a very solid LSU team, so gotta give props to them.
Yeah, both teams really impressed me a lot. I like the fight from LSU, but I will say, if Lenora Sellers does not go down, South Carolina wins that game, and they win comfortably.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't come down to a field goal, because when he rolled his ankle at the half, that right there turned the entire tide. Because there were times where LSU had chances to get back in the game. They had drive after drive after drive that kept stalling out. That South Carolina defensive line was dominating.
Dude.
A very highly touted, and a lot of two projected first-round draft picks are on that LSU front line, and the South Carolina D-line just victimized them. It was incredible. And they kept getting them off the field, but that offense couldn't produce because Lenora Sellers went down. He tried to come back in, but couldn't put pressure on that right ankle. On that whichever ankle, I think it was his right ankle. On that right ankle, he couldn't run. It took the rushing threat away, and the rushing threat was what was opening up his passing game as well. South Carolina may have lost his game to LSU, but their story is not over this season. This is a really talented South Carolina team. Sellers is going to keep getting better week in and week out, and that defense, led by that defensive front, oh my goodness, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But I think it's about time we talk about some other teams in the SEC that look pretty impressive as well. The Kentucky Wildcats hosted the Georgia Bulldogs this past weekend. And I tell you what, they gave this old dog fans a scare. They gave this dog fan a scare.
Gave me a heart attack.
They gave about every dog fan a scare.
Now, look, that was one of the most mediocre all-around football games for both teams that you will see. Kentucky looked good but didn't look great. Georgia looked bad, but they found a way to pull through. Like Kirby Smart said in his post-game, this team is strong, kept fighting, just like the LSU team did, and found a way to pull away in the ugliest way possible. John, I'm going to throw it to you first. How do you feel going into the bye week about this Georgia Bulldogs team?
I like it. Look, we won. It was a very hard-fought win, and obviously we went up against a very good team. Like Kirby Smart said in the postgame, you don't need to judge a team like Kentucky off of 1 week in the SEC. It's a different environment. I really understood that right there. But for what happened to us and for the way we played, a lot of it was questionable. Defense played great. I mean,
defense definitely came around.
Number 11, Johnson, absolutely Jalen Walker?
Yeah.
Man, why am I thinking Johnson? Anyways, terrorized their offensive line. And what I saw in Vandergriff was he went back to some practice mode and some of the snaps. But, man, that had me stand there like a coach yelling at the screen. And really, I'm glad that we ended up pulling that game out and just winning it.
It was a heck of a ball game. I was watching that game, and I was really impressed with Kentucky, the way they bounced back, because they just looked terrible against South Carolina. I thought it was more so Kentucky's offensive line being terrible, but I'm thinking that South Carolina defensive front just might be that good.
Exactly.
After watching them do it 3 weeks in a row, they did it to Old Dominion. They did it to Kentucky. Then they victimized LSU. That South Carolina defensive front is the real deal. So I kind of had my guard down going into this Kentucky game. As a Georgia fan, I really did. I expected it to be somewhat close in the first half, and Georgia was going to pull away, but that game was ugly. But that just reminds you how difficult the SEC is. Going on the road, especially at night in the SEC, is not easy no matter who you're playing. I'm still very confident in this Georgia team. They definitely have some things to work on. But I believe that this game is more so of a wake-up call, especially
sure.
going into the bye week. You had a scare. You found a way to win the game. That's what's important. Going into this bye week, that coaching staff led by Kirby Smart are going to nail this point home day in and day out for the next 2 weeks leading up to this game in Tuscaloosa. Because I tell you what, that Alabama team is going to be ready. They already had their scare. USF was their scare. And they bounced back. They went and splattered Wisconsin. But this Georgia team better be ready. Because even though Nick Saban is not the coach, he's not the head coach at Alabama anymore, you're still playing on Saban Field, and you're going to Tuscaloosa, Alabama at 8 p.m. That is going to be a ball game no matter how you slice it. Now, there were some consequences to that Georgia game. Georgia went down one spot in the AP poll, and I know it's just week 3 going on week 4. The AP poll really isn't that important right now, but there's some things to discuss because the new number 1 team in the country is the Texas Longhorns. And good God, they have looked fantastic this year. Quinn Ewers was really proving to everyone, including me, that he is indeed a first-round pick at quarterback. And he looked great last game, but when he went down, a fella by the name of Arch Manning stepped in. And oh my goodness, Schrader, I'm going to let you talk about that one.
Yeah, Sark has a machine going down there in Austin. I mean, first of all, when they're playing with Ewers, they're amazing. I mean, they're playing like that team that you're going, all right, this team's probably winning the Natty right now. And then Quinn goes down, raises a little bit of question mark, how's Arch going to do? Well, first play, throws a touchdown pass, comes back second play, runs, 67 yards down the field, scores a touchdown.
To the house.
Mannings don't do that. Like, that's insane. We haven't seen a Manning do that since the 60s. So this Texas team looks really good. Now, rankings right now, I don't want to say they don't matter, but, really college football playoff rankings is what you should really be looking at. This is just more of a placeholder, but Texas 100% deserves to be that number 1 team right now.
I'm going to say, I'm not surprised that we went down at least one. I thought we could have gone to the 3rd spot out of all things, but really, yeah, Texas deserves it. Like we said, Arch Manning looked like a freak on the field, taking over for Quinn Ewers, but really for Georgia, as you're saying, it nails it down in there. Hey, you're number 2. They doubt you now. People say you're not the best team in the country. Guess what? You got to go prove it to these people, so it's going to hopefully give us an extra edge and going into Tuscaloosa, which will be a very, very hard game.
Yeah, I'm definitely not surprised that Texas is now number 1. I mean, a lot of Georgia fans are like, oh, a win is a win, so it doesn't matter. But also at the same time, that was a game of Butterfingers on both sides as well. I mean, fumble after fumble, dropped ball after dropped ball. Both teams could have done way better, especially Georgia. And seeing the way Georgia played, they did not deserve the number 1 spot after that week. And I think I was actually texting my brother right after we were Texas is going number 1, that's our prediction. And so I'm not surprised right there.
Yeah, Texas definitely deserves to be number 1 in the country at the moment. They've looked great throughout. They have a few tests coming up getting into SEC play, so I'm excited to see how they're going to do against these other teams. They actually have a date with Georgia in Austin, Texas on October 19th. That's going to be a really interesting game to watch as well. I think Georgia's going to bounce back. But you want to talk about another team that's starting to inch their way up the rankings. I want to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. They've looked amazing throughout this entire season. They went in and splattered NC State a couple weeks ago, went out and beat the brakes off whoever in the world they just played. I don't know. They played
Kent State.
Yeah, exactly. See, they're playing
71-0.
Exactly, 71-0. It's still impressive no matter who you play. Yeah, they played against Kent State, but they're sitting here taking care of business week in and week out, looking impressive. And next week they have a game in Norman taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. That's going to be the first big-time test for Tennessee. We all thought that was going to be NC State, but Oklahoma is going to be a big-time test for them. I'm excited to see how this defense translates. Will this defense really be able to lock down a big-time SEC school like Oklahoma? How will Nico and this offense look? The running games look great. They look really explosive. Schrader, what are some early thoughts you have going into this game against Oklahoma?
Yeah, you got to point out, yes, Tennessee won 71-0 against Kent State. At halftime, it was 65-0.
Yeah.
That doesn't just happen,
No.
against anybody. That's 65 points in one half is unheard of. South Alabama scored 87 in a game, and that was the most we've had in our lifetimes. And here's Tennessee with the ability to score 65 in one half is wild. But I got all the faith in the world in this Tennessee team right now. I mean, they look like they can beat just about anybody. The only reason they're number 6 is because of how talented the rest of the country is.
Yep.
This season in the SEC is going to be beautiful. There are so many games each week that you're just going to be able to sit down and know you're going to get an instant classic. And this Oklahoma team looks interesting. I don't know if they're quite on the level of this Tennessee team, but it is in Norman, and any game in Norman is winnable for Oklahoma. So
Exactly.
I'm really interested to see how that game goes.
Yeah, I'm with you, Schrader. I'm not sure how good this Oklahoma team really is. The offensive line has looked iffy, and against that Tennessee defensive front, it's definitely not going to be easy at all. I expect early on, I expect Tennessee to get this done, but like you said, it's just still a good road test for them. Any game in Norman is not an easy place to play whatsoever. I'm excited to see this Tennessee team get tested for the first time this year, but I do want to say this before we move on. There are 6 teams from the SEC in the top 10.
Oh, boy.
Texas at 1, Georgia 2, Alabama 4, Ole Miss 5, Tennessee at 6, and the Missouri Tigers up there at 7. This SEC race is going to be insane. There are no more divisions now. There's no more SEC East and SEC West. It is the top 2 teams from the SEC playing in the SEC championship. But really, with this 12-team format, there's no telling how many SEC teams we might see in the final 12 at the end of the season. This is going to be a very exciting year to watch SEC football. And if you're an SEC football fan, like me, I'm a Georgia fan. Carlie's an Auburn fan, even though they're not in it, so it's really not going to be heart-stopping for them. But for me as a Georgia fan, I'm very worried going into the rest of the season. Now, stay tuned. We're going to take a quick song break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about NFL and get into some sports news.
Hey, this is Andy Bunker from 92.9 The Game, and you're listening to the Wolf Sports Network.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Richard Reed here. Just a quick reminder, we are here at Wolf Sports Network. We are a radio station first. And this little awkward pause that you may be seeing on the YouTube or Twitch stream isn't an awkward pause. It's not a technical difficulty. We're taking a song break right now. So if you want to listen to the great music that we're playing on our station, go to wolfsportsnetwork.com, hit the play button in the top left corner of the screen, and take a listen to the great music that we're playing. Long live Rich Homie Quan. And then look, if not, stick around, stay tuned. If you like the radio stream, keep listening on there. Go cook while you listen or whatever. Or just stay tuned here because when we get back, we have a lot more hot topics to get into. We're picking the Monday night football games tonight. We're recapping this past NFL weekend, talking about how the Chiefs keep getting bailed out by the refs. We're talking about everything here. So stay tuned and we'll be back soon.
Their team sucks and they're mad as heck. Falcons O-line's looking like a mess. They'll never win if Kirk is in. Goodness gracious, they're fired up.
Wait, Jackson, why are you dissing the Falcons? Aren't you an Eagles fan?
Because I can. Anyways, tune in to Sports Out of Pocket every Wednesday at 5 for Fire Me Ups you don't want to miss. Only on Wolf Sports Network.
The Dodgers introducing Shohei Ohtani after signing him to a record-breaking contract.
Nick Saban is retiring.
Breaking news on Sports Pad.
Breaking news indeed. You know what that means. Let's get into some sports news. We're going to talk about all kind of different sports. And for the first time, we're going to talk about something that I don't think we've ever talked about here on Sports Pad. We're going to talk about some F1 racing. Now, John, you're a huge F1 guy. You have connections to a F1 driver at that. So let me know what's going on in the F1 world at the moment.
Right now, really, McLaren's dominating the game. Red Bull's not looking good. Red Bull's actually losing almost all their top people. And really, I'm just highlighting here is the rookies for Franco Colapinto and Oliver Behrman. Franco was thrown in after Logan Sargent got sacked, and he scored his first points in his second race with Williams, which is a horrible, slow car on the grid. And then Oliver Behrman as well, scoring points for Haas, filling in for a second time this season.
Time out.
What's up?
How do you score points in F1?
First through 10, it's 25 through 1 is broke down through it. So top 10 gets point, and then there's 1 point for fastest lap.
Okay.
So Oliver Behrman scored 1 point, but Franco Colapinto scored 4.
Gotcha.
So it's because he finished in 8th place. Really, I'm just saying good job to the rookies because you guys are in a very serious situation. Oliver's coming in next year to take over his seat. Franco, I don't know what's going to go on with you because Carlos Sainz got your seat. So just shout out to them, really.
Now, look. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand what's going on right now. So I'm going to ask what might be looked at as the dumbest question ever to an F1 guy.
What's up?
But what is the difference between F1 and NASCAR? Because
No.
all I can see is that the cars are shaped different.
Okay, yes, very true that the cars are shaped differently from open wheel to closed wheel, but it's going to come down to the whole inner workings of the car. A F1 car is millions and millions of pieces interwoven carbon fiber, where NASCAR is a lot of V8 and metal slapped together, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then really just comes down to, like, one thing I see instantly is G-forces. You're like, what? G-force? It's the amount of force.
G-force, like the hamster movie?
I mean, hey,
What a
honestly,
movie.
you know what? The hamsters might be in those cars. I'm not going to lie. Like, they might be in there, but yeah. I think just the physicality of it goes, like, way more on it, and these guys are literally training against gravity to make them better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shoot. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I hadn't, look, and did I understand a lot of the stuff he just said, even when he explained?
Nope.
No. But you know what? I'm going to check out a little more F1 now because of that. Thank you, John. We'll talk more F1 soon. Now, I've got some other sports news from around the sports world. We're going to pivot to the NFL here. After a rough rookie season and 0-2 start to this one, Bryce Young has been benched by the Carolina Panthers for their backup quarterback, Andy Dalton. We all know the name Andy Dalton. If you don't, Andy Dalton's a veteran in the league. He's been in the league for over, 13, 14 years now. He's a ginger, just like Schrader. Schrader was pointing to his hair. He's the NFL's ginger. Played for the Cincinnati Bengals for what feels like 50 years, and now he will be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to let any of you start. I don't know who to throw it to first. What do you expect from this quarterback change?
I am very questionable about this quarterback change because we know Bryce Young's a very good quarterback. We saw it at Bama. But really, you're saying Bryce Young has not been your answer, and to put a guy like Andy Dalton in, and then the Carolina Panthers. I mean, you already thrown away your season? That's what I'm looking at. Like, it looks like you haven't salvaged much from it, and you're not really helping him with Bryce Young. So just we'll go and put Dalton in. I don't like it. I think it's unfair, but it's the business.
Yeah, I don't think Dalton's a bad quarterback whatsoever. In my opinion, this is probably what I would have done if I were in the Panthers situation. Because you get this quarterback, right, this generational kind of guy, amazing quarterback, and you stick him behind one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen.
Right. One of the worst teams
for
right
18
now.
games. He goes 2-16. I think what you need to do is take him out and just let him learn under Dalton, give Dalton the reins, see if that changes anything, because what they're doing now, it's not fair. It's not fair for Bryce Young. If I'm Bryce Young, I'm like psyched because I get a break from getting sacked 8,000 times a game and getting hit who knows how many more, but also I just get to take some time to go back to the roots, to learn the system a little better, to to practice more. Really, this is what needs to happen if Bryce Young is going to succeed later in his career.
And I know we put so much emphasis on a quarterback and, like, the quarterback is the spotlight of the team, but also when you put a quarterback behind a horrible offensive line, maybe reevaluate your offensive line instead of your quarterback, because your quarterback cannot be successful without a good offensive line.
Yeah, it's pretty rough to see. I'm not really sure what decision I would have made if I was the head coach. Of course, the head coach sees a lot more than we do. So he feels like going with Andy Dalton is the best option for their team for one reason or another. I'm not 100% sure. And I really don't know how to feel about it right now. But really all I do know is that Bryce Young has been struggling. But did Bryce Young deserve to be the number 1 overall pick in that draft? Yes.
Yeah.
There is no doubt in my mind.
100%.
Bryce Young was a fantastic college quarterback. He played great at Alabama. His last year at Alabama, he's the reason those teams were as good as they were. He helped elevate that roster. Now, I know what some people may be thinking, well, how much can you elevate an Alabama roster? They're loaded with talent. Well, that roster needed that help. It was like Bryce Young would snap the ball his junior year at Alabama, and the rest of the team would just sit back and wait for him to make a play. That's how it was. Now, he has not had the best resources here at Carolina. They tried to retool that offensive line in the offseason. Didn't really work the way a lot of people, myself included, thought it would. It hasn't looked great so far. I'm not really sure what to tell from it. We're going to see this weekend if Andy Dalton can somehow turn this team from, like my friend said earlier, from a JV team to a JUCO team, then all power to him. Maybe quarterback was the problem. But it's going to take more time to really see what the true issue is. If Andy Dalton struggles as well, no, it's not the quarterback position, because we all know Andy Dalton is a solid NFL quarterback. But now let's go ahead and pivot into another team to another team in the NFL. In the NFL, only one thing matters: chasing a dynasty. Now look, the Panthers are 0-2 right now, but the team that straight up went in there and splattered them in week 1 was the New Orleans Saints. Now, a lot of us were looking at that game and just going, okay, the Panthers are just terrible again, because the Saints were so mid last year, there was just no way the Saints were really that good.
Yep.
But then the Saints go into Dallas, they go into Big D, they go into Jerry's World, and straight up demolish the Dallas Cowboys. Look, Alvin Kamara demolished me in fantasy football. He had 4 total touchdowns, 3 on the ground, one off a 65-yard screen pass. It was insane. The New Orleans Saints look for real. Saints fans had a parade in front of AT&T Stadium after the game. They went in their trap and took over their trap. It was insane. This Saints team looks fantastic. I don't even understand how they were so bad last year. The defense was flying around. The secondary looked great. The receiver room looked solid. Rashid Shaheed had a big game. Chris Olave was kind of quiet, but we know what Olave can do. Derek Carr looked really good. Alvin Kamara in that running game looked fantastic. I'm looking at that Falcons jersey on you right now, John. Yep. And the Falcons play later on tonight. We'll talk about Monday Night Football soon. But how scared does that New Orleans Saints team make you as a Falcons fan right now?
It scares me a lot, because I thought this season that the Saints weren't going to be that good. But surprise, these first 2 games, they've put on a show. And really to see what Kamara's done, obviously he's a little bit older now, I understand Falcons have a great defense, but, man, this puts some questions in the NFC South, I'll say.
This Saints team is doing everything that they need to do to win flawlessly. I mean, one of the big things that was talked about with the Saints is, in order for them to win, they need to stay out of must-pass situations. Because Derek Carr, I mean, he's a lot better this season than we thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
But the Saints have done a phenomenal job at not having to throw the ball. When they throw the ball, it's because they want to throw the ball, and they're extremely successful at it. But the efficiency of this offense is just insane. They scored a touchdown on their first 5 possessions against this Dallas team in Dallas. It was the first time the Cowboys lost in 16 regular season home games. Like, this is insane how good this Saints team has been.
It really is. Now, to stick in the NFC South here, I want to pivot to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because they also look very impressive. They're starting off 2-0 as well. They had a very impressive win in week 1. But yesterday, they went into Detroit and took down the Detroit Lions. That was a very impressive game to me.
It was.
That game was really close. The Lions had chances to win it, but the Saints found a way to get it done. Baker Mayfield looked impressive. Chris Godwin really looked great. He's looked great. He's had over 8 or more catches the past 2 weeks this season. He seems like he's trying to remind a lot of people that there are really 2 wide receiver ones out there in Tampa. The NFC South looks very impressive this year. A lot of people expect the Falcons to improve. We'll see what we see tonight against the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Saints and the Buccaneers are looking like the top 2 alpha dogs in this conference as of right now. Schrader, I'm going to throw it to you first. What do you think about the South as a whole? Because Tampa looks great, and the Saints look really great as well. How do you feel as a Falcons fan, and how do you also feel as a neutral observer?
Yeah, I mean, as a Falcons fan, I'm definitely a little nervous. Not as nervous as most because we still haven't played our Week 2 game, so I don't want to jump to any conclusions. But the NFC South is a whole lot better than I thought it was going to be. I mean, outside of Carolina, it might be the best. It has a chance to be the best conference in the league if these teams continue to produce the way that they're producing. But I mean, this just brings me back to, 2016, 2017 when it was the conference. Exactly. And those were some good days of football. And I'm excited because I love the NFC South when it's good. Because these teams, when they play each other, it just seems like they hate each other a little more.
Oh, they definitely hate each other.
Dude, when the Dirty Birds play those Saints, man.
It gets wicked out there.
It does.
I can tell you firsthand, my entire family is full of diehard Falcons fans.
Yeah.
They see another Falcon fan on the street, they scream and rise up. One of the lamest things you can ever say, but they say it.
Yeah.
And I tell you one thing. We're talking about it this weekend because I was saying, like you just were, when the Saints are good, the NFL is just better.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in my family agreed. But the main thing they said was, when the Saints are good, the product is better. I just hate Saints fans with all my heart. People from Atlanta despise people from New Orleans, largely because of Katrina, but also because Saints fans are just nuisances. And because of Hurricane Katrina, they are just out here. They're everywhere. And they're terrible. They're some of the worst people you could ever be around. Now, I have some friends that are Saints fans, and I'll say that about them, too. They are terrible people. They're insufferable, almost as insufferable as Cowboys fans. Now, look.
Almost.
I was happy to see the Cowboys go down like they did, and that raised a lot of eyebrows about the Dallas Cowboys as well, because in Week 1, they played the Browns. We thought the Browns were going to be a lot better than they are. Deshaun Watson seems like he's washed. That offense is non-existent, but that put a lot of the harsh critics of Jerry Jones at ease. But now they ran into a real deal football team, and they were embarrassed on their home turf. And it's really showing that what Jerry Jones tried to do in the offseason has not worked out. Now it is Week 2. Maybe I'm overreacting. But being in the sports media realm, it's the land of hyperbole. This is what we do. We're going to overreact week in and week out. And another game I'm going to overreact to is that Chiefs and Bengals game, because it was another classic. The Bengals rose to the occasion. They looked terrible Week 1 against the Patriots, but maybe the Patriots aren't that bad because they just had a great overtime game against the Seattle Seahawks. But at the end of the day, the Bengals are starting off 0-2. John, is it time to panic?
I don't think it's quite yet time to panic because really the ending of the Bengals game was very, very questionable with that PI call. I still haven't made my mind up about that call. But if we panic over Mahomes, I don't want to panic over it. I don't want to panic over Burrow, but I don't know. I can't give you a solid answer right now.
I wouldn't be panicking if I was in Cincinnati. I mean, they played a heck of a lot better than they did in Week 1, which means that they're at least improving. There was that questionable PI, but in my opinion, even if there is a questionable call like that, the team should always be able to step up and overcome that call. That's just always been my opinion. But at the same time, the Chiefs played great.
Yeah.
It was a 1-point game, a walk-off field goal against arguably the best team in the NFL with help from the refs. I wouldn't be panicking whatsoever if I was a Cincinnati fan.
I'm with you 100%, Schrader. I wouldn't be panicking either. Now, look, I just said this is the land of hyperbole, so of course I'm going to throw out words like panic. But I don't think it's time to panic either. The Chiefs played great, but so did the Bengals. That game was won. And it came down to that pass interference call. In the moment, I was very upset because I hate to see great games decided by penalties of that nature. Was it pass interference? Yes, it was definitely pass interference. Looking back at it with my emotions removed from it, it's obvious it was pass interference. The DB was there early, didn't give Rashee Rice a chance to make a play on the ball. But it's so difficult to play DB in the NFL right now.
Yep.
Same way it's difficult to be a pass rusher as well because you can't hardly hit the quarterback. Yep. And you can't hardly defend the receivers either. There's so many rules. If you're there a millisecond early, it's a penalty. If you don't get your head around and keep your head around, it's a penalty. It's so difficult to play DB in the NFL. And to see a great play by a defensive back be wiped off the board and to see it cost their team the game, a team that they both played great, but the Bengals outplayed the Chiefs in the end. Trey Hendrickson had a great game. And to see it all wiped off the board because of a pass interference penalty that threw the Chiefs into field goal range, I really hate to see it. I hate to see games be determined by things like that. It sucks, and it gives the referees a lot of power.
You still got to give props to Harrison Butker though, because
Yes.
field goal range is a 51-yarder. That's no cakewalk by any means. But yeah, I agree with you 100% on. I mean, I've struggled with the NFL this season simply because of how many times I see a flag thrown.
Oh,
It's unbelievable.
Last night on Sunday Night Football, there was a flag every other play. It was ridiculous.
Is there such thing as a legal formation anymore?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's wild.
I'm convinced it's not, because that illegal formation call is why the Chiefs won Week 1 against the Ravens.
Yep.
And then another thing that's really grinding my gears right now is, can you hit a quarterback?
No.
In college football and the NFL, is it possible to hit a quarterback? What is a sack? Do we need to, you know what I'm going to do Thursday for Sports Pack? These next few days, I'm going to spend time reading the rule book, truly understanding it. And since we have these little cameras now, me and John are going to walk through how exactly to sack a quarterback. Be sure you tune in for that. We're going to read the rules, and we're going to walk through exactly how to sack a quarterback. Because as of right now, I don't understand. But one thing I do know is, we'll be back in a few. We're going to take a quick song break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Atlanta Falcons and this big-time Monday Night Football matchup between them and the Philadelphia Eagles. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, this is Bobby Butler, and you're listening to Sports Pack only on the Wolf Sports.
Real quick, y'all, it's Richard here. Just a quick reminder, here at Wolf Sports Network, we are indeed a radio station first. And this little awkward pause that we're taking right now isn't really an awkward pause at all. We're taking a quick song break. So if you want to listen to the amazing music that we're playing in preparation for this Monday Night Football matchup, go to wolfsportsnetwork.com, hit that tiny play button in the top left corner of the screen, and listen to the great music that we're playing. And if you like it better over there, stay tuned on the radio side. Or when we start back talking, hop on back over to YouTube or Twitch. Either way, make sure you are tuned in for our Monday Night Football picks. You are not going to want to miss the ending of this show.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the start of a new semester, which only means one thing. Triple Threat is back.
But wait, there's more.
That's right, folks. Not only is Triple Threat back, but we are live. So every Friday from 11 to 12, grab a drink and some popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. Only on Wolf Sports Network.
Yeah, buddy!
Fantastic news, Wolves. The deli station is returning to West Commons. Build your sandwich to your liking as you choose from our several bread, meat, and cheese options. More information is located at UWG_Dine_West on Instagram. But you know what else is fantastic? This Monday night football matchup tonight, with the 0-1 Atlanta Falcons going on the road up to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I always forget Pennsylvania is a state because people always say I'm just from Philly, but Philly's not a state, is it? Nope. Pennsylvania is the state. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It doesn't roll off the tongue, but that's a topic for another day. To take on the 1-0 Philadelphia Eagles, who just went and beat the Green Bay Packers in Brazil. It's a very interesting game. It's a very interesting game tonight. No A.J. Brown for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Falcons were just victimized by T.J. Watt and that Steelers defense last weekend and destroyed by the Boz with the leg. It was ridiculous. They lost on all field goals, so they feel like they have a lot to prove tonight. And the Eagles, even though they won in Brazil, they still have a lot of people doubting them. Saquon had a great game, but Jalen Hurts didn't. Carlie, I'm going to throw it to you first. What are you expecting from tonight, and who do you have taking it home?
So I definitely underestimated the Eagles going into Brazil. I had the Packers because, I underestimated them. So I'm not going to do that tonight. Even with A.J. Brown out, I still think Jalen Hurts and Barkley are going to have the duo. And in Philly as well. And also, Kirk Cousins not impressing me whatsoever. I have no faith in the Atlanta Falcons team right now. So give me Philadelphia Eagles in Philly.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game, man. It's the Battle of the Birds.
Battle of the Birds.
Battle of the Birds. But I'm really intrigued to see the Falcons' offense against the Eagles' defense, because this is a very big prove-it game for Kirk Cousins, but more importantly for our offensive line, which really struggled. And Kirk's not a mobile quarterback. He's great in the play action, but he's not a mobile quarterback, so it's kind of hard for him when the pocket collapses. He can't make much of it. So I'm really intrigued to see how our offensive line is going to handle the defensive line. But in reality, without A.J. Brown, I'm very confident in the Falcons' defense. With how they play, they still haven't allowed a touchdown. So with how they played last week against the Steelers, I'm going to go the Falcons because, Dirty Birds need to get that win in a very, very close game. I'm talking like field goal could win it kind of game. So, yeah, give me the Falcons.
See, this game has got me actually really, really excited. Not that I was excited for last week's game, but I'm just somewhat ecstatic for this game. There's two things that I realize. Zach Robinson's calling his second game, so he's definitely learned from his first game. My only other point is, Caleb McGray, or whatever your name is, if you get terrorized again tonight and you lose this game because you are a horrible offensive lineman, I will be done with this Falcons team. So look, give me the Falcons tonight. I got the jersey and everything, but I swear if Caleb McGray gets absolutely terrorized, I'm going to question everything about this Falcons team.
Look, Mr. McGray, if for some reason you're listening and not getting ready for this game, or somebody in your family is,
anticipate.
I did not say that. John Howley did. So any sort of things you might want to say to us, you might want to come at me because I'm the host of the show. I didn't do that. Contact Mr. John Howley. We can make sure you get his school and personal email. Maybe his address if you're feeling freaky.
Hold on now.
Moving on to the game. This is a very interesting game for me. I've been on the fence a little bit. I've been going back and forth in my head because in my heart I do want the Falcons to win this game. But it's going to come down to two things here. I'm going to start off with the Falcons' offense. It's going to start along that offensive line like both of you just stressed in the statements you just made. I want to see how that Falcons' offensive line is able to deal with that Eagles' defensive front. Because one thing that Eagles' defensive front showed last week is they can stop the run. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and those boys, they have the size to compete with anybody, and they're bona fide run stoppers. And the key to this Falcons offense is the ability to get Bijan and Tyler Algier going. The Falcons need the run game. Schrader, you just mentioned it. Kirk Cousins is great with play action, and he has pretty good receivers in this Falcons team. But in order to open that up, you have to have some sort of a run game. Bijan and Algier have to get going. If you can get Bijan going, this Falcons offense is going to be pretty much unstoppable because the play action is going to be amazing. And also, Bijan's able to do it out of the backfield as well, which adds another layer to his game, makes him even more dangerous. So the key for the Falcons on the offensive side is establishing the run game. They need to get some push on that offensive line. Then when you look at the defensive side, it looks a little better for them because the Falcons didn't allow a red zone touchdown last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but George Pickens victimized them. Well, there's no A.J. Brown, but you still have Devontae Smith, who a lot of people think could be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL for a lot of other teams, but he's out there with A.J. Brown. So it's going to be the Devontae Smith show. This is the challenge for Jalen Hurts. First of all, they got to get the run game going. Look, breaking news, hate to spoil it, Saquon will have a good game today.
Yeah.
But how will Jalen Hurts be able to play with that Falcons secondary? The Falcons have the best safeties in the NFL. Say what you want about A.J. Terrell, but those safeties help out a lot. That defensive line is improved. I'm not sure how effective the Eagles are going to be with only Devontae Smith because there are going to be times where they have to throw the ball. And when you have A.J. Terrell and a safety on that side with Devontae Smith, you need other guys to step up. The 6'6" Johnny Wilson from Florida State.
Yes, sir.
I love him. I loved him coming out of college. I loved him when he transferred from Arizona State. But there are still question marks when it comes to him. He's a rookie, of course, but he was also questionable going into this game. I'm not sure how healthy he is. Jahan Dotson, Dallas Goedert, they've got to step up and help out Devontae Smith. I think this is going to be a really good game. Maybe I'm picking with my heart here, but I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons have what it takes to get it going. Carlie, I hate to leave you on that island, but yeah, I'm flapping those wings. Look, I'm going with the Falcons here. I think they're going to find a way to get it done. It's going to be a really good game. I see a world where the Eagles win it, but I think the Falcons are going to impress a lot of people and show that the NFC South is one of the better divisions in football this year.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah.
Okay,
sorry. I thought it's all good. Miscommunication. I thought you had something else to add.
Nope.
But yeah, I think the Falcons are going to find a way to get it done tonight, and they're going to mess around and win this game. I can see it going either way. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be a battle. But I do trust this Falcons offensive line to get it going. That Eagles defense didn't look amazing against the Packers last week. Then again, Jordan Love is a really good quarterback, and they do have a really good receiving room. When you have the run game that this Falcons team has the potential to have, the Swiss Army knife that is Bijan Robinson, they can catch it out of the backfield and break it down between the tackles. John has on a Bijan jersey right now. The unicorn Kyle Pitts, Drake London. You have all these guys on this team. It's hard not to see this Falcons team succeed. Everything is right there. Need a lot from Kirk Cousins. He didn't look healthy or confident again last week. Hopefully that was just him knocking off the rust and he's ready to come in and beat the primetime allegations. Because people always say Kirk Cousins cannot play when the lights are the brightest, and it don't get much brighter than Monday Night Football until you make the playoffs. So he's got to come in and get it done. The odds are against the Falcons right now, but I'm rolling with them Dirty Birds.
Yes,
I would like to thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of Sports Pack. Stay tuned because we will be back Thursday night previewing this next weekend of college football and NFL. Stay tuned. Same bat time, same bat channel. Send it out to your mama, your grandmama's best friend, stepdaughter that she don't really like but she tolerates. Send it out to everybody. Whether they like sports or not, send it out to everyone you know because this Thursday's episode of Sports Pack will be must see. Stay tuned. I appreciate all of you for tuning in tonight. I can't wait to see you Thursday. God bless.